What's up, everybody? Welcome back. John Levesque here, back from the holiday break and joined by my buddy Yash. How's it going, Yash? How you been, man?
Hey John, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be back. I had a nice long break over the holidays. Actually, I'm pretty sure you and me did a video together last. The last one we did was the last video that I made. And so I took a nice long winter break to hibernate. And I'm feeling good about it. It was lovely. How about you? You have a good break?
Yeah, totally. And you see the irony. You ended the year with the last video with me, and then you're starting it with the first one with mine. So it's pretty nice.
I don't know any better way to close out a year and start a new year, my friend. There's no better way. So today we are talking about some very exciting stuff. A lot of people have been asking me, John, I use Teams all the time and I keep hearing about this Power Automate thing. How do I combine these two worlds so that I can be more effective? How do I use them together better? And so I went to Yash and I said, Yash, everybody's asking me about Teams tips. Do you have any? And of course he had some. And so today he's here to show us 5 tips on how we can use Teams and Power Automate better together. So Yash, super user, MVP, badass, go ahead, introduce yourself real quick and then go ahead and jump into it.
All right. So today we are going to talk about the top 5 tips that I feel are important for Teams and Power Automate and how you can use them better. Before we move to that, quick introduction about me. So I'm Yash Agarwal and I'm a Power Platform Solutions developer architect, and I've been working on Power Automate Power Apps for about 2.5 years now. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP for business applications and MCT, and a super user on the Power Apps and Power Automate community forums. You can connect with me by scanning this QR code on the screen, and also follow me on Twitter and blog on my blog from the links on the screen over here. And I'm really looking forward to connect with everyone.
If you want to see a deep dive on a lot of the stuff Yash is talking about here, definitely check out his blog. He puts a lot of goodness in there.
And what are we going to do today? So the top 5 things that I think everybody who's using Power Automate and Teams should know is, first one is the Power Automate app for Teams. I mean, earlier this was not a big deal, but now it has a lot of improved capabilities, and we'll take a look at those individual components of why this is such a big thing. And then we'll also take a look at new team and team members. I mean, I've seen this as a lot of incoming requests also on community forums and elsewhere, where you manage projects and then you have a list of projects, but then every time a project is successfully onboarded, you want to create a Teams channel or at least a new Teams team over there and add those people to that team so that they can have their project related interactions, store files, and do a lot of other things also.
Nice.
And then there's one where you want to notify when a new team member is added. I mean, this is also one important requirement. So if you're already working on a project, and then if there's a new team member coming in, at least we could put a broadcast message that, okay, there's a new member who has been added to a team. And then there's approvals. So approvals is one more really good feature where Power Automate can bridge it to either Outlook or MS Teams. So we'll take a look at how we can send approvals to Teams using the Flowbot. And then there's adaptive card. So this one is pretty cool. So we'll also see how we can enhance approvals, use multi-line options and capabilities from adaptive cards to make approvals easier.
Awesome, man! What a bunch of good stuff. Let's jump into it.
All right. So let's start with the first one, which is the Power Automate app for Teams. So on the screen over here, so I'll just navigate to Teams. So as you can see that I have the Flow channel created on here as a chat that you can do by clicking on apps over here and searching for Power Automate. Since I've already added it, I'll not add it again, but then if you'll click it, it'll allow you to add it as a chat option over here. And once you do that, it's like you can open up the entire Power Automate portal within the Teams UI itself. So if I click on home here, I'm going to see all the templates of flows which can be created using Teams or where Teams is significant. So as you can see, first I'll see if there are any flows that I have over here. And if not, then I can see all the popular templates which are related to the Teams connector. And then I can move to this create option where I can start creating a new flow. Again, it is going to give me a list of templates which have Teams as a very important connector or an important action where Teams is involved. And then the really nice thing about this is approvals. So Most of the times when we are using approvals, we can either send it to the Outlook email or we can send it to Teams. But then there's also the approval center where all the approvals are there, where you can view all the ones which you've received, which you've sent, and the history also. So to navigate to that, first, earlier you would have to go to the action items and go to the approval center over here. But now you can do that directly from Teams itself. So you can access all your approvals, even if they are not on the Outlook, even if they have been just sent to the Teams as a flow bot, as from the flow bot.
Okay.
And then there are two more options, the business process flows. So here, if you have created a business process flow for a model driven app, and then you have a record on that, so you'll see all those over here. So I had a previous app where I was creating claims and tracking. I mean, I created a claims tracking system. So all the records related to a specific business process flow which are active are shown over here. So if I click this, it is going to take me to the model driven app, to that specific record. And then I think there's one about section, which is just generic information, but then that's fine. So
Cool.
also the important part over here is the chat. So
Okay.
you can actually chat with it like a bot. So you can select these, what can I do drop down. So what I'll do is, okay.
Maybe. Wants to be a pain, huh? Of course, when it's demo time.
All right. I mean, you have to click the
Very
triangle.
precisely. Click the
Yes.
triangle. I see.
So what you can do is you can select three of these options, or you can also do the learn more. So learn more is going to give you what all options are offered by the flow bot. So if I click on list flows, it is going to list all the flows that I have created as owner of those flows. So I can see that it is not showing any flows because Flow app on Teams can only trigger flows that have been created in Power Automate with a manual trigger or a trigger on schedule without any inputs. So I'll show that to you real quick. I have a manually triggered flow here option, and let's say email notification. I'll send an email to myself.
The hello world email.
And
Probably going to rename it so you can find it easier.
yep. So once this is saved, I'll get back over here and I'll come to my flow tab and I'm going to list flows again.
And if you're wondering, can I just type list flows or learn more? And you can. It'll work if you just type it out as well.
Yes. Interesting. So it should take a minute, but then.
Yeah, and since you're on the web-based one, you might have to refresh.
Yes, that too.
The Teams client is always refreshing in the background. The web version runs on polling, and so it will refresh a little slower. Still not there, huh? It's silly because it is there.
Maybe let's just run this from here once.
There you go. That could help.
Okay. And let's try it again. There you go.
There we go.
So it takes up to like 5 minutes, as you said, because of the polling.
Yep.
And then if I wanted to run this flow, it's like whatever flows it is going to list, it has a number with it. So if I have more than like 4 or 5 flows, it is going to number them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if I wanted to run the first flow, I can just select run flow and then type the number and hit enter. So it says that your flow is running now. And if I come back, here is my hello world email.
Nice. Super cool. So think about this. If you're in teams and you need to have a quick set of actions, right? Maybe there's a report that your leadership constantly asks for. What if you had a button to grab all the latest information and quick send that report so you didn't have to go gather it up, right? Imagine the possibilities. What if you needed an out of office instant thing where if someone's late to a meeting or you got to get word to a certain team that certain people aren't there, you could create a flow that did it. There's a million possibilities here of these instant actions that you can create that'll just like, boom, I'm working in teams. Oh, I need to do that thing. Run flow one. I don't even have to
Yes.
worry about it again.
Totally. And let's say if you also wanted to clear some records or refresh data somewhere, maybe on Power BI or something like that, you could do that also
That's a
from
great call
instant
out.
from.
I recently, not very recently, but did a video that's pretty popular on Flow has an action to refresh a data set in Power
Yes.
BI. So that's a beautiful example for all our BI friends out there.
And always you can create a new flow from here. So you can browse through those multiple and number of actions and combinations of actions from teams, including the new ones
Nice,
to enhance your automation. And
nice.
then what I'm going to do is the next one was new team and team members. So what I'm going to do is first I'll have a new project. So let's say if I have a projects list. So right now we're doing it on SharePoint.
Yep.
All the projects are created as items over here. And let's create a new project. So I'll name it as,
And keep in mind, Yash is keeping this simple, right? A couple columns. If you're doing this, obviously you're probably gonna have a lot more metadata that you want to include.
yes.
But just keep in mind, this is just demo, right? So we're gonna do a few columns to show you how it's done and keep it quick so you can learn the concept.
Totally. I mean, on the projects part, especially, it's like there's a lot of information which needs to be sensitive to certain teams. So I'm just using the name of the project and the members who have to be there. You can always have approval. So once a project is approved, only then create the team and all those things. So that is always a thing to know. And I'll add myself. There's a test account I have here. Okay.
There was a test account.
All right. So I'll add just Ritika and save. So as you can see that there's one project and then there are two members assigned to it. So I'll come back to my flow here and create a new one. And this one again, I'm using a manual trigger here. So what you can do is it's like based on the metadata here. So if there was an approval column, you can use the when an item is created or modified trigger and set it that only if the project is approved, then trigger this flow.
So keep in
And
mind here, you see Yash uses that trigger. He puts no inputs in. If you were to put an input into that trigger, it wouldn't be able to be kicked off from Teams. So
some
just keep
teams,
that in
yes.
mind.
And I'm going to look for the internal orders and the list is projects. So we're doing a get items over here.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll create an apply to each loop. Or first create another action to first collect all the members for the project. So initialize variable here. And then the type is going to be array. So as you can see that it has already created another apply to each loop because members from the projects is going to be an array because it's a multi-select multi-person column. And then
So
what I'm going
Yash,
to do is,
real
Mhm.
quick, open up
Yep.
those two steps. I noticed you chose members item and
Yes.
not members.
Mhm.
Do you know what the difference is between the two?
So it's like the members item is the members is the array, and the members item is the specific item from the members array.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank
So
you.
if I were here, I can also select the member's email address.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And then what I can do is I also, it's like you usually what we have to do is when adding members to a team, we need to get their ID. So I'll close this apply to each loop and I'll start adding the teams action and we'll get back there.
Okay.
So I'll just search for teams and create a team. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the title and then it is going to suck this action up into the apply to each again. And then the description of the team is, let's say, team. And then what I can do is search for teams again. And then as you can see here, I can add a member to a team directly. So for the team ID, select the custom value and
Okay.
just pass the new team ID from here.
Okay.
But now this one is the tricky one. So how do we add a user? Now, if you see that we have multiple apply to each loops here, which we don't need, and we'll be getting rid of each of them separately. So the first loop over here is iterating over the individual items, which is coming from the projects list. And then we have the create team action here. So in accordance, we will just pull this up and because we want to first create the team. And then what I'll do is I'll add an action over here because here you can see that we need the AAD ID for the user to add to a team. And it's like we'll have to pass individual values over here. We cannot pass an array. So this one is going to go. And I'll add an action here.
Gonna grab their profile, get some info on them.
Okay. And here what we are going to do is we are going to pass the member's email. So as you can see, it has again created this apply to each loop for each member.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting the profile, I'll move this action up inside the loop itself. And here I can select the ID.
Okay.
And get rid of this one. So this one was just for the explanation of how the data is coming from SharePoint. I'll get rid of the variable as well. So as you can see, first we're getting all the items from the SharePoint list for projects. And then for each project, we are creating a new team. And here what you can do is you can add your validations where only approved projects are passed on. And then in each project for each member, we are getting the user profile and then adding them as a member to the team. And then here in the advanced options, you can also set up particular user as the owner of the team, or you can just leave it as is. So we'll just leave them as no
Very cool.
and save it.
It's funny. I should update my video. I did a video recently on how to create a team with Power Automate, and I didn't know that I could grab the members in line. I thought it would take a separate flow to add the members. So nice. Great little tip there.
All right, so I save my flow. I would show how we can run this from Teams, but then it will take another 5 minutes. So I'll just directly run it from here.
Okay.
Okay, so it's taking a little time for creating those connections because I created the Office 365 connection for the first time on this tenant.
Gotcha.
and we should see the new team created momentarily. Okay, so the flow is successful. So I will come back to teams and click teams here. And as you can see, I have the MPP project 2020 created over here,
Nice.
which was the title of the project that we got from the SharePoint list.
Yep.
And then now it's like we have the team created. So I'll click on manage team so that I can see the members. Because I created this, I'm the owner of the team, and then the members are added.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Nice work.
All right.
That is so handy. Like 4 actions.
Mhm. And I mean, we can complicate it as much as we want based upon the exact use case and scenario,
Of
but
course.
that this would be a starting point.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay, so now let's take an example where there are two people working on this team for this specific project, and then there's a new resource added to it.
Okay.
But then we also want to make a nice introduction for them. So how we can do that? And that was our third part, yes. So
Notify
what
when
I'll do
members
is
are added. All right.
I'll start from this beginning where we'll first create a user because let's say if it's a new user onboarding. So I have a user one already. I'll probably use this one.
Okay.
And I'll come to flow here again and create a new flow. Let's just select instant for now and skip.
Yep. And now Yash is doing this all from the Flow portal.
Yeah.
Keep it. Remember, you can be doing this right from in Teams as well. You don't have to leave that experience as soon as you add that Flow tab.
Yeah, it's like once you add the flow tab and then you can also add the Power Apps tab. So it becomes the entire development studio for you.
Nice.
Okay, so I have this trigger over here when a new team member is added.
Okay.
So I can select that and it's going to ask for the team ID. So it will directly populate the team and the MPP project 2020 is the one.
Very nice. You know, that new little blue pop up thing they put on is
Yeah.
really distracting. That thing, yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that.
It's like you hover over it and it expands. So,
I see.
and again, I'll look for teams. All right, so I can see it over here, the post a message, and again, pass the team ID. And it's like this action may be a repetitive one. So what you can do is again, get all the details of teams in a separate action and then put this in the apply to each loop. So every time there's a new member added to any team, you can create separate flows individually for each
Ah,
of those.
that's a good idea.
Okay, so I'll just put the user ID over here, or I think the user ID is going to be the GUID, which we don't want. So I'm going to use the Office 365 connector again.
Mm-hmm. You'll find that when you want to find people's information, you're going to use this Office 365 thing a lot, especially if you're in an AAD ecosystem. Like this will be a lifesaver for you whenever you need to find info on people.
And it's like some of the actions are a little bit confusing also. So there's a search for users and then there's a get user. So if you have the UPN, you can directly get the user. But if you're searching based on certain strings, you can use the search for users. And I'll pass the user ID. I hope this should be getting us the details. And let's
Yeah,
put
there
the
you go.
and I'll name it as member welcome message. Okay. Now I'll come back to Teams and then I'll add a team member manually here.
Mm-hmm.
So again, manage team and add member and add. Cool. So I'll come back to flow here and it should trigger momentarily. I mean, again, I think that the trigger is polling based, so it could take a couple of minutes or seconds.
Yep.
Okay, so I think this may take a little while to run. So while that happens, I'll start on the next one, which is the approvals part. And let's create a new flow for that. See again the pop-up thing.
That thing is all over the place.
And I'm going to create a manually triggered flow again. And this time what we'll do is we'll ask for inputs from the user. So let's say the first one is, let's put item. And I'll have another one for number. Or let's just name this as bill. And another one for date. Okay. And then in the new step, basically the scenario we're looking at here is if somebody wants to create a reimbursement request on the go from a mobile phone, they can use this manually triggered flow and it can be shared with multiple people in the organization.
Cool.
And when they hit the button on the mobile phone on the Power Automate app, they'll be asked to enter these three inputs and then it'll just kick off the approval workflow.
Okay.
So I'm going to look for the create an approval instead of the start and wait for an approval this time.
Okay.
And let's select the first to respond. And the title of the approval is reimbursement request. So for now, what I'm doing is I'm assigning it directly to me because I don't have the hierarchy mapped in this tenant. It's a
Yep.
trial one,
Yep.
but you can always use the username, person who's triggering the flow, and then use the Office 365 connector to get their manager and then assign it to them.
Awesome.
And in the details, I'll put and we can directly pass the inputs from the dynamic content. And then in the new step, what I'm going to do is look for Teams and search for adaptive card. So you can see that there are multiple options over here. Post an adaptive card to a Teams user and wait for a response. You can also put it to a Teams channel and then wait for a response. Or you can post it as a flow bot to a channel or to a user. So
Nice.
I'm going to use this one, the post your own adaptive card as a flow bot to a user. Okay. And then in the recipient, I'm going to add myself. In the message, I can directly add the adaptive card. So as you can see, when you select the create an approval action, it automatically gives you the Teams adaptive card as an output.
Hmm. This is
And
cool.
then, mhm,
This is all new. I like how they've done this.
yeah. Then I'll add the wait for an approval action because we want for this flow to wait until the approval is completed. So I'll just pass the approval ID here. And then I'm going to put the email notification. So the outcome is going to contain the response of the approver.
Got it.
Uh, so what I'm going to do is I'll just copy paste.
Save yourself a little bit of time.
Yep. And save it. Because we are not saving the data anywhere, I'm just directly passing it to the email notification. But we can always save it on SharePoint or a data source of choice where we are tracking all the reimbursement requests.
It's taking its sweet time to save. There we go.
So this is the one that we cannot trigger from Teams because it is requesting for user input.
Yep.
So I'm just going to test it from here.
So you can't trigger it from the flow bot, but you would be able to trigger it in Teams, right?
No.
No,
So
okay.
any flow which requires an input cannot be triggered from Teams.
I see. Okay.
So here it is asking for bill. I'll just put bill 756 and amount as like, let's say 250. And for the date, I'll select New Year's and run flow.
Man, we weren't even working on New Year's. Hopefully you weren't spending corporate money on New Year's.
Probably. So as you can see that it has posted the adaptive card and waiting for the approval now. I'll come back here and in the chat, I'll see the flow bot has sent me a card. It's like it contains all the details, bill number, bill date, and amount.
Nice.
And I can approve or reject. So let's say approve.
I love it. Right in line. Don't even have to leave the experience.
Yes. And once it is done, I'll get an email over here. All right, this one. The reimbursement request has been, oh, okay. So we missed the D over here, but then
No
we'll have
problem.
to route it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Nice. Nice, man. That is excellent. I love that. I like how simple, like the adaptive card, like just grabbed all the approval info. You didn't even have to really do anything with it. It just pulled it right across.
Yes, as an output of this action. That was really cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to construct it from scratch. So that's
It's
pretty nice.
really cool.
And I want to show it on Teams again. So if I come back here and hit approvals, so if I didn't approve it from my mail and if I didn't approve it from my Teams, and the chat is way down, so I can see it from history here. So you can see the reimbursement request and you can provide a response from here also if it was not responded to.
Nice.
And if you want to see the log, you can come here and see the log.
Very, very cool, man.
All right, so this one, what we'll do is we'll use an adaptive card this time, and we can see we'll see how we can get multiple items approved in a single adaptive card response.
Okay.
So the use case is like, let's say there's an internal team which is requesting for items, and they create their item requests, and it is stored on SharePoint as a single order. And at the end of the day, or whenever they're ready with their order, it gets processed.
Okay.
So I'll create an instant one, again, a manual trigger this time. So it's like, let's assume that the setup of the app which takes the data from the users for orders is it generates an order ID every time a new order is created. So I'll ask the users to enter that order ID for which they want to send the approval. And then I'll use the get items from SharePoint. And then I'll get items only which have the order ID which is mentioned here in the flow trigger. So let's say our title column is storing the unique identifier.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the next step, I'll add a compose action here because we want to create the adaptive card. And what I did is I already created the adaptive card here. It's a basic adaptive card that you can always create from adaptive cards designer. What we have here is a text block and a place where users can add choice and a placeholder for text and the submit button.
Don't be intimidated by that. The adaptive card builder is actually very easy to use, and it generates all this code for you. You can just do
Yes,
click and drag and make something up there, and it will give you all the code. So don't be afraid of this. It's very easy to use.
totally. So for example, let's say if I wanted to add a text block here, I'll just drag drop and it is going to add it in the code for me.
Yep. Perfect.
I'll remove it. So I'll copy over this entire thing and come back to my flow here and paste the adaptive card. So as you can see that we have a choices array here, which has title and value. And this is something that we will have to create for the multi-select option for all the items here. So what I'm going to do is I'll add a action here to initialize a variable. And let's say choices and array. And then I'm going to add another action here after we get the items, that is append to array variable, and select choices again. The schema is we have to add a title and a value. So for the title, what I will do is I will add the item name of what we are requesting. So as you can see, again, it has added us to the apply to each loop because it's an list of items which is being returned. And then here I'm going to add the amount. So item and amount, and then a comma. For the value field, we can just add the detail as this one. So select the ID of the SharePoint item. And then in the compose action, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the entire part from here until here because we are going to provide the choices.
Got it.
And similarly, what we can do is like approval request is there over here. So I'll put a dash, and from the expression, I'll use the first one because it's like all the items from the SharePoint list are going to have the same title. So first of value. Or basically it's going to be the same as the users are going to input for the order ID.
Got it.
I'll just pass the order ID from here. Okay. So this is that, and I'll save the flow. is I'll look for Teams. And search for adaptive cards. Now that this is not an approval action, so we don't have a wait for approval or wait for the adaptive cards response. So that's why we're going to look for something like post an adaptive card to a Teams user and wait for a response.
Okay.
And I'll select this one. I'll again put my email address. In the message, I can directly put the outputs. All right, let's run it until this point and see what we get. And I'll add one more action over here. Hang on. I don't know why it's taking so much time to save each flow today.
Yeah. Flow sometimes is moody, you know?
In the new year mood, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move to expression and I'll search for outputs of, okay. We'll first have to probably rename this one. So this compose action is going to store all the outputs from the body of the adaptive card action. So I'll save it and trigger it now. Before triggering it, we'll first have to add the items to the orders. So I'll open it in grid mode and let's say order 1. So I will go back to our previous example that we did a little while ago on the Outlook adaptive cards. I'm going to ask for a pencil at $2 and then again order 1. I'll ask for a box at probably 10. And a bag for 100 maybe. And then exit the grid view. So as you can see that all the title are same, which is the unique order identifier here. And this is what we're going to use to trigger the flow. I'm going to enter order 1 and run it.
All right. Great success.
So it's on the adaptive cards. I can see the notification through. Okay, so before we move to that, I mean, we'll come back to this anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It took its own time.
Uh-huh.
So here I have the items here. Okay. As you can see that the adaptive card renders a little differently for Teams. And you can see that pencil and price is 2, box price is 10, and bag is 100. So I'll select the pencil and the box. I'll provide text as approving as discussed and submit it. So the thank you for the responses, again, the parameter that we set on the action. So I'll come back to my flow here and expand this. So you can see all the details of the responder of what the response was. You can see the choice set as 1 and 2 and the reason as approving as discussed. So now what we want to do is we want to get this and then update our SharePoint items also. So from the body, you are going to have to get the data and then from the data, the choice set so that you can separate the item IDs and then directly update it in SharePoint along with the reason.
I love it. Man, you know what I love about this is we went from the very easiest thing you can do, getting the app installed in Teams, all the way to mind-bending, crazy flow hacking to get all this done, right? Like building approvals without real approvals, making teams wait, plugging in adaptive cards. This was awesome. I think my favorite part about this is everybody will learn something from this video, regardless of what level you're at.
Yes. And the happy part over here, so this one ran.
Yes.
I think it ran, but then it didn't give us the notification or something happened. So, but
Okay.
it's at the end, it's here. So it
Is
ran over
there
here, and then it sent a welcome message.
a new team
So a
member
new
has
team member.
added, welcome user 1. Nice. Okay, perfect. It only took about 15 minutes, but it shows that Flow did work, does do its job. Flow was just being a little bit moody today.
Yep. And I think it's also because it was the first one created for the team. So maybe it took a little bit of time to recognize all those. So
got it. All right, well, you guys at home, you know what to do. Go ahead and click like, click subscribe so that you don't miss another video. But more importantly, go and get connected with Yash. His info is down below. His blog is there. His LinkedIn is there. His Twitter is there. Follow him. Give him a big thank you for constantly coming on the channel and sharing such good stuff. And Yash, man, thank you from me. Really appreciate you being a regular on the show, constantly teaching us such awesome things. Really, really appreciate you, bro.
Thank you so much, John. It was great showing all of these things.
Awesome. All right, you guys at home, go ahead, smash like, click subscribe. Much love from me. I'll see you in the next one.